All right, parallel and perpendicular lines. Let me explain what this worksheet's going to be about. So let's say you were graphing a line. All right, look at this line. It's looking great. Oh, I'm so good at graphing. Go me. And then there was a question that said, hey, give me a equation of a line that's parallel to that original line, and it goes through this point right here. So, boom. Right. So this worksheet's going to be talking about how to do that, but without graphing it. And similarly, it'd be also like if you again had an original line right here, you graphed it, looks great, and then a question asks you, oh, I need you to give me the equation of a line perpendicular to the original line, but it goes through this point. And then you could draw your little perpendicular line, boom, boom. And don't forget, perpendicular lines intersect at 90 degrees at a right angle. All right, so again, this is what we're doing, but without graphing. Here we go. All right. So first we have a parallel question. So this one says parallel, boom. Here's my equation, boom, and here's the point, boom. Important information. Always start by identifying your important information. Okay, so don't forget, parallel lines, I'm gonna write this over here, have equal slopes. Okay, that's really important. The next thing you need to understand is, well, I'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, let's look at step one. Step one says to find the slope. Great, we know how to do that. Okay, we can use rise over run. We can use the y2 minus y1. We can also use, write this down, m equals negative a over b. You've seen that before. The only time we can use that, though, is for standard form. So for linear equations, which is just the equation of a line, remember those lines I was just talking about? One of the ways you can write an equation of a line is using what we call standard form, and it looks like this. ax plus by equals c. Yep, that's it. Okay, so having said that, let's go ahead and see, can we use standard form way of finding the slope? Well, yeah, this is clearly a standard form equation. I'm gonna write it right here. ax plus by equals c. Doesn't it match up? So we're good. All right, so I can see here that a is 4. You see how that matches up? And then b is negative 3. Yes, you have to count the minus sign in front of the 3. So we have, I'm gonna write it again right here. M equals negative a over b. And I like to write it twice on the same line so that I can erase and replace. So I'm going to erase a, and I'm going to replace it with, what was a again? 4. And as a matter of fact, just for clarification, yuck, let me go on ahead and clean this up a bit. Oopsie. Okay. So I'm going to even use the same color highlighter so that that makes a little bit more sense. I'm using a purple highlighter, so I'm going to write the replacements in purple. So B was negative 3, oops, and so I'm going to write negative 3 in place of B. All right, cool. So looks like we're done. Uh-oh, I see a double negative. So don't forget, when you see a double negative, you need to change to positive, positive. All right, so now we just have 4/3. Great. So that's my slope. Okay, moving on. Step 2, plug in M and x1, y1. Well, what in the world is that? Where did I see a point? Oh, there we go. Here are the coordinates right here. So this is x1 and y1 in parentheses. So x1, y1. Okay, great. So now I'm going to go over to step 2, and I'm going to start by writing the original form. And guys, what form is this? Let me highlight this real quick. What form is this? Wrong color highlighter. This is point slope form. So we just talked about standard form, right? So standard form, oops, right here. Okay, and now we're talking about point slope form, which is right here. All right, so I'm going to rewrite point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I'm going to write it again so that I can erase and replace. Okay, I'm being a little lazy. I'm not actually writing it again, but you get my point. All right, so I'm going to erase y1, and I'm going to replace it with, what was y1 again? It was 23. Then I'm going to erase m, which was the slope, and replace that with 4/3. Then I'm going to erase x1 and replace it with 15, because that was over here, right? 15, that's where I got that from. Okay, cool. So now pretty much done with step 2. Great. Let me go ahead and look at step 3. Write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. So I gotta get y by itself. Ugh. All right, let me go ahead and do that. And I'm gonna do that over here because there's more space. So first thing that I see is that I need to distribute this 4/3. So I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that first. So y minus 23 stays the same. 4/3 times x is 4/3 x. 4/3 times 15 is 20. So that's going to be minus 20. Great. The next thing I need to do is get rid of that 23, or that minus 23 by adding 23. All right. So I ran out of space. That's okay. I'm just going to come over here. So the 23s will zero out, so leaving y by itself. Then we have 4/3 x and 20. Negative 20 plus 23 is 3, so that's going to be plus 3. So there we go. And what form is this? This is slope intercept form. Okay, so that's this. So that's all 3 forms. Slope intercept form, point slope form, excuse me, and standard form. All 3 forms of linear equations or equations of lines. All right, so that's going to be y equals, this was m, this is x, and this is plus b, which is just plus 3. All right, now let's check our answer bank. Aha, there it is. So I'm going to cross it out. Great, moving on. All right, now I'm going to go on to number 3. What is the equation of a line that's parallel? So I'm going to do another parallel problem before I go to perpendicular. Okay, so first thing that I want to note is that this is the equation. We want parallel, and then this is the line. So again, parallel means equal slope. And this, I'm going to zoom all the way in. AX plus BY equals C, which means this is going to be your A, this is going to be your B, and don't forget that's negative. Okay, so it's a negative 3. Get that a little bit cleaner. Okay, great. And then this is going to be our x1 and our y1. So I'm doing all of my labeling up front, so I don't have to do it later. All right, step 1, we have to find the slope. So we have m equals negative a over b, and I like to write it twice so that I can erase and replace. So I'm going to erase 4, and I'm going to replace it with, what was a again? I'm sorry, I meant to say erase a, and then I'm going to replace it with negative 4, because that's what a was. I'm going to erase b, and I'm going to replace it with negative 3, because that's what b was. And now I'm going to simplify this fraction. So I notice right away that there's a double negative, boom, boom. So that's going to be, oops, wrong color, 4 over negative 3. And here's the thing. You could put 4 over 3 with a negative on top. You could put the negative out front. Or you could put the negative next to the 3. They all mean the same thing. Relax. All right, so there is our slope. Okay, so now that we have our slope, we need to plug it in to point slope form. Oops. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it, or in this case, copy paste it. And then I'm going to erase and replace. So I'm going to erase the y1, and I'm going to replace it with, what was y1 again? Let me go check. It was negative 10. Okay. Negative 10, and then real quick, let me go ahead and put this 6 right here before I forget what it was. All right, and then the slope was, we just got that, negative 4/3. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and, get rid of that double negative. Then I'm going to distribute. Oops, wrong color again. And here we have y plus 10. And then negative 4/3 times x is negative 4/3 x. Negative 4/3 times 6 is 8. Or positive 8. All right, there we go. So now, just like we did it for number 1, we're going to clean this up because we have to get it into slope-intercept form. We got to get y by itself, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add, take away 10 because it was already being added. And there we go. And then that's going to leave me with y by itself. And that's going to be negative 4/3 x. And that's going to be a minus 2 or a negative 2. So there we go. Y equals negative 4/3 x minus 2. Let me check my answer bank to see if I see that answer. Ah, there it is. All right. Okay, so there are your parallel examples. Let me go ahead and give you a perpendicular example. So again, both of these were pretty simple because we needed to use the parallel slope. So in using the parallel, don't forget those two lines mean parallel. Slope, it was the same, right? We did not change. They are equal. They are equal to each other. Same thing down here. The parallel slope, since the slope was negative 4/3, the parallel slope was negative 4/3. So that's the one that we use. Now we're going to talk about perpendicular slope, which is not equal. The slopes will not be equal this time. All the other steps are the same, but step 1, it's going to have an extra part to it. So perpendicular means you need to flip and change. All right, we call that negative reciprocal. Alrighty, so this is our equation. This is our point. Let me go ahead and label. Let me zoom in because y'all know. All right, this is ax plus by equals c. Let me go ahead and highlight a, which is going to be negative 3. I'm going to highlight b, which is just 4 because it's plus 4. And then I'm going to label my x1 and y1. Okay, so for the slope, don't forget we're going to have an extra step here. Don't get lazy. So m equals negative a over b. That part's the same, just like I told you. Most of this is going to be the same as it has been. Let me go ahead and erase a, replace it with negative 3, right? Because a was negative 3. Yes, even though there's already a negative there, you still need to put negative 3. We'll get rid of that double negative in just a moment. B was 4, right? So we just put 4. Okay. We're going to clean this up. Don't forget to get rid of that double negative by making it positive, positive. And that's going to be 3/4. Great. You're not done. This is a perpendicular line problem, not parallel. Perpendicular slope, don't forget you have to flip and change the sign. This was a positive fraction. This is going to have to be a negative fraction. Okay, so this is the slope that we have to use. So now moving on to step 2. I'm going to write, you know what, be lazy. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the point slope form. And again, I always do it twice so that I can erase and replace. This is why I love Notability. Really caters to my laziness. All right, so I'm going to erase y1. And what did I say y1 was? It's over here by number 2. It's negative 1. Okay, so let me go ahead and use purple. And then that's going to be negative 1. And the slope, don't forget, we didn't use that slope. We had to flip it and change it. So it's negative 4/3. Oops, didn't mean to keep blank. Negative 4/3. And again, it doesn't matter where you put the negative as long as there is a single negative. And then x1, I replace that with 6. Okay, now let's handle this. We need to get this double negative out of here, and we need to distribute. So this is going to be y plus 1. This is going to be negative 4/3 x. And looks like it's going to be plus 8. All right. So now, last step, you guessed it. Get rid of that plus 1 that's next to the y by minus 1. Okay, and then that's going to leave us with y by itself, of course, equals negative 4/3 x, and then that's going to be what? Positive 7, so it's plus 7. So y equals 4/3, so y equals 4/3, oops, negative 4/3 x plus 7. Let's look for that answer choice. Ah, there it is. All these have been in the middle so far. It's kind of funny. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. Hope this helps. See y'all in the next one.